Hey guys, Cash here, and I just want to do a short video about some beginning tips that I can give to trumpet players that are starting out. Now, these are tips that can apply to a student who's maybe in 5th or 6th grade, or someone who's a little bit farther along that's kind of maybe, in high school, or just an older person wanting to pick up a hobby or something like that, and are looking to pick up trumpet. So I have three main pointers that I'm going to go over, and I'm going to cover getting a horn, getting maintenance equipment, finding a teacher, and establishing a schedule. So let's go over my first tip here, finding a trumpet. Now, the first thing I want to cover is students who are starting in 5th or 6th grade. So really what it comes down to is what your definition of a good horn is. Let's say you're an older person and you're in high school, or you're out of school and you're just picking up a new hobby, but you want to get really serious on trumpet. A good instrument to you was probably going to be a professional level horn somewhere between the $2,000 to $4,000 range. And good places to look for those are: one, local retailers; two, instrument dealer sites; or if you know what you're looking for example, let's say you're looking for a top of the line Bach Stradivarius model trumpet. I don't have any specific numbers off the top of my brain, but you know that there's somebody on the internet who is selling one for a few $100s. It's a good horn. You've checked it out. Everything works properly, and it's just a good professional horn, and they're selling it for cheap. That can happen. Some people, they move into new houses, they go into the basement and they find a Bach Stradivarius or a Zeno Yamaha, and they don't know what it is, and they just don't want it there because it takes up space, so they end up selling it for $300 because they don't put in the time to look for it. So there's always the chance of that happening, but in most cases kind of unlikely. So one thing that I'll give you is, in terms of good horns, some of your bigger name brands are going to be Yamaha, Bach, Getzen. Those are some really good brands. Typically, most brands have three different kinds of trumpets. They have the student models, the intermediate models, and the professional models. Now, a student model is good for, like I said, those people that are in 5th or 6th grade, beginning band. Their parents don't want to buy them a complete piece of crap horn. They want to buy them something that's actually going to work pretty well. So they might get them a student model or an intermediate model. An intermediate model is going to be more for the high school kid, maybe, that's pretty good, wanting to go to college. But if you're wanting to get really, really serious, you're going to want to get a professional horn because it's made with better quality parts. They last longer, and typically they're built just a little bit better than other horns. I play on my own horn. I play on a Yamaha Zeno. You can't really see the brand there, but this is the Yamaha Zeno. And I actually got this bad boy for $800 because I had a friend who was getting a new Zeno and he wanted to get rid of his old one. So he sold it to me for $800 and I got it fixed up. And now this is roughly a $1,200 horn that I bought for $800 and just got fixed up. So sometimes there are instances where things like that do happen and you do get lucky. So the whole idea is just find what is a good fit for you. So you can look online, do your research on the different horns and the difference between like lead pipes and blah blah blah, all that special stuff. But the thing that you're really gonna want to do is be able to test out the horn. If you can go to a local music shop and let's say you picked out 3 or 4 horns that you found on the internet that you really 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 like because you like the way they're built, then I would suggest going to your local music store, being like, hey, I got on the internet and found these horns. Do you have these in your shop for me to test? Test them out, find which one you like, and there you go. Now, let's say we're dealing with a student who is in 5th or 6th grade band. The best thing you can do is buy them some student model horns, ask directors, go around to music shops, and find things, or ask them about what are some good horns that you can buy for a student, and they'll give you some student model suggestions and things like that. And if you don't really know if your student is going to stick very long in band and you don't want to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars getting them a super high quality instrument, then getting a hand-me-down instrument from grandma, grandpa, aunt, and uncle, nothing wrong with that. That's totally fine. Just make sure you know it works. And this is where I'm going to kind of segue into my next little point is equipment. So, when you get a horn, especially if you're getting a horn for a younger student that's starting, you want to have good equipment to clean the horn. And the best things that, or the top 3 things that I'm going to suggest that you get for your student, or if you're still going to need these things if you are an older person just getting into playing trumpet, you're going to need some valve oil. Now, there are different brands of valve oil that you can choose from. I just like to use Ultra Pure brand because it's all about personal preference, and I enjoy this brand the most. It's just about personal preference. Yamaha, I think, also makes valve oil. Bach makes valve oil. Some local instrument shops will make their own valve oil. Some are cheaper and some are more expensive. Typically, the rule of thumb when buying supplies like this is you're going to get what you pay for it. So if you pay like $1 for a bottle of valve oil, odds are that valve oil is not going to be very good, but I understand some people are strapped on money. This bottle of valve oil is, I think, roughly $4 to $5, which is kind of expensive for a bottle of valve oil, but it's worth it because I really enjoy it and it works a lot. So valve oil is the first thing you're going to need. Second thing you're going to need is some sort of slide lube, grease, cream. There are some different brands. I prefer, using slide grease. Yeah, the valve oil, I didn't mention this. Obviously, it's used on your valve, which are these buttons here. Over time, your valves will get less slick and they will start to stick. So keeping them oiled up will make sure that they're moving quickly and everything like that. So what you're going to need next, as I said, is some sort of slide grease. I have 2 different kinds here. I have my Ultra Pure as well as my Yamaha. Again, there are different brands. Yamaha makes some, Ultra Pure makes some, Bach makes some. Same thing. The more you pay, the better you're going to get out of it. And the less you pay, the worse you're going to get out of it. It just depends on how much money you're willing to spend. And, it doesn't have to be the most expensive thing in the world, but I typically tend to pay the big bucks because I want to get good quality stuff. So this is important because your instrument has all kinds of slides, right? We have a third valve slide right here, which I'm moving with my hand. We have our main tuning slide. We have a first valve slide. And we have our second valve slide. These slides are very important when it comes to tuning the instrument. If these slides do not move, you're probably going to play super sharp or super flat, depending on temperature, how well you are at setting your embouchure, your areas, etc. So it's important to have these things to make sure that every moving part is able to move, so that way you can adequately perform and you can tune. Yeah. So, and the next, the final big thing that I suggest that you have is some sort of cleaning kit. Now, obviously, as you probably can tell from the majority of this video, a lot of the products I use are Ultra Pure. This is not a product placement of any kind. I just like using Ultra Pure products. So I have a Ultra Pure cleaning kit. But if you get on the internet, you can buy a standard cleaning kit from anywhere from $10 to $15. But typically, they're going to come with a couple brushes and a snake. So the brushes will look like this. You got a big brush and a tiny brush. The big brush is good for getting into valves and scraping them out, and some little tinier slides and things like that. And then this brush is mostly a mouthpiece brush. Get my mouthpiece out here. You slide it in, it gets the gunk out of your mouthpiece. I forgot to mention this earlier when I mentioned equipment, but usually when you buy a trumpet, they'll come with a mouthpiece. In the case. Typically, the most standard mouthpiece is a 7C. I'm not really fluent on mouthpieces, but I do know it's basically, like most things in the music world, up to preference of the player. So if you like one mouthpiece better than the other, that's okay. Just because Wayne Bergeron doesn't use the same mouthpiece as you doesn't mean you're going to sound worse or better. It just depends on what's comfortable for you. So when you go to a music shop, they'll explain all the different mouthpiece sizes to you, all the different brands. I have a Bach mouthpiece, even though I play on a Yamaha horn. It's just because I enjoy the Bach mouthpieces more. But, so that's just a little side note about mouthpieces. Go to your music shop, they'll explain the sizing, what it all means. You can try a couple out and Find what's comfortable for you. And same thing with the horns, like I said earlier. Try out your horns and see what you enjoy most before you order anything online or anything like that. So yeah, this brush is for the mouthpiece. This brush is for getting like hard to reach places like valves and the inside of tiny slides. And the next thing that we have is a snake. Now you'll notice that there's a lot of you can't really see past this because I have a valve guard, but there's a lot of tuning on the trumpet. The tubing starts right here and loops all the way around and comes out the end here. So this is rough. This is quite a few feet of tubing right here that's wrapped up. You can't really tell because the trumpet's in its final form, but if you stretch the trumpet out, it would reach many, many feet. So you're going to want a snake because sometimes these tiny brushes aren't going to go deep into the tubing of the trumpet. If I start at the mouthpiece hole, for example, and you slide the brush down in there, it's only going to go about an inch or two in before it either gets stuck or you have to pull it back out. So the snake is really good for getting those hard to reach places in long tubes. You can slide it down in there. You can slide it down in there and it'll go all the way through the horn. You can pull it back out and clean that bad boy out. So yeah, brushes and snake, and I always like to keep a polish cloth on me. There are different brands of different polish cloths. It's going to cost you roughly, I don't know, maybe $1 or $2 to get a polish cloth. But basically, you can. I like to spray the outside of my horn with some Windex, wipe it off with a paper towel, and then you just wipe this down with a little polish cloth a couple times. That makes the metal nice and shiny, and everything will look nice. And once your trumpet's clean, it'll be ready to go. So that's basically some of the main equipment you'll need. You'll also want to make sure that you have, another big thing for me is making sure you have a good case for your horn. Now I have a ProTech gig bag case. This cost me, I think, roughly $50, but it's got nice foam interior padding and things like that. It's got a nice little handle and a little side bag. But you can just go on the internet and do some of your own research and find out what kind of bag you like. Mine's got backpack straps. Some of them have shoulder straps and other things. And yeah, so just make sure you have a nice case for your trumpet as well. So that's all about equipment and finding a good horn. The next thing I want to talk about is when it comes to actually playing the trumpet. The first thing you want to do is you want to get a good teacher. You want to find a really good teacher for you. And if you're an older person, okay, I'm going to start. If you're a younger person and you're in middle school or high school and you're really wanting to get serious, your band director, even though they might play trumpet or they specialize in brass instruments, for example, they are not going to be able to sit down and work with you one-on-one all the time. They might be able to do it a little bit after school, but they're not going to be able to stop class completely just for you. So if you're wanting to get serious, it's very important to find a good teacher. The same thing for an older person. An older person, let's say you're in your 20s and you're starting to play trumpet, you can't go back to high school and learn an instrument. You're basically either going to have to learn on your own and not get very far, or you're going to have to find a teacher. So a good place to look for teachers is to go online and maybe speak to some. You can speak to some local band directors. Find out if there are any good trumpet players in your area that give lessons. Local universities, for example, a lot of professors will give. They will charge you, but they will give you lessons. So universities are a good place to look. Asking high school band directors and just maybe looking around on Facebook or social media to find somebody that you like to teach you. So find a good teacher. And the last thing I want to point out is establish a schedule for yourself. If you're wanting to get serious about your trumpet playing, you're going to have to play a lot. And if you're kind of just sporadically playing here and there, you're not going to get the foundation that you need and the fundamentals that you need to really excel on the next level. So every morning I try to get up at 7 a.m. I get me a cup of coffee, something to eat, and from 7 to 8 I kind of do my shower, drink my coffee, etc. And then from 8 to 9 I'll do a little bit of work. So I'm in college, so I'll do a little bit of homework. And then from 9 to 11, I set that time. I only typically go from about 9 to 10:30. But from 9 to 11, I set that time specifically for morning fundamentals. And when you get a trumpet teacher, they'll teach you all about fundamentals and things like that. So basically what I'm saying is plan out your day and try to make a schedule that you can stick to almost every single day, so that way you're practicing at the same times, you're getting everything you need to do to get done, and you're excelling at a rate in which is good for you. It's very important to establish a schedule, because if you're only practicing 5 minutes a day every day, you're not going to get where you want to be if you want to be serious. It takes a lot of time, and I don't get discouraged. If things don't look up at first, and there are going to be good days and there are going to be bad days. But it's really really good to establish a schedule. And once you find a teacher, they can help you establish a schedule. My college professor, Greg Wing, he makes us do a 6 a.m. to midnight schedule where we plan out our day, and sometimes it really helps. I will admit there are some days I get a little off schedule because things happen, but typically having a schedule that you can stick to keeps you on track. So those are my top 3 tips: finding a good horn, as well as good equipment, finding a good teacher that you like, and establishing a schedule for yourself. Doing these 3 things will really, really help you excel to that next level. And I really hope that this video really kind of helps you, because I know once you start learning an instrument, if you've never been, in band or choir or anything like that, picking up an instrument can be kind of hard and intimidating. But with some patience and a lot of working through it, you can do it. So I hope you enjoy the video, and have a good day.